Hey, folks, welcome back to the Pulse. My name is Matt, and this is Crypto Heartbeat. It's 3 o'clock, folks. It's 3 o'clock Central Texas time. And boy, I'll tell you what, people need the pump stream. I was going to do an interview this morning with the Ophir folks, but we had some sickness. And so I decided, you know what? After being pumped up by Brandon today, I was like, you know what? People need a little bit of a shot in the arm. So I hope you're doing well out there. And we got a lot to talk about. We may have a guest come in today. That would be really nice. Maybe we could be encouraged. But first, we need to be on the right microphone. So I hope you're doing well. Let's see who's here. Who is here? That's the big question. Looks like a good crowd's coming in. Yup, K, what's up? Yo, Bearded Saint. Always good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Mobius is here. Anders, howdy, folks. Rich Liberation, Texan, David Lee, all the way from southwestern Indiana. You know, this is the guy. He knows how to share the love, if you know what I mean. And that's what we need more of these days, is some love. And you know what? Maybe our guest will show some love too. We'll see. We'll see. You never know what you can expect from him. AZ Electric, love the pump streams. Thanks for being here. PulseChain Trainer, I was thinking about you today. I hope that you can be at the meetup that's happening on the 24th. That's Friday. I'm sorry, 23rd of June. That's Friday. And it's going to be in South Houston. Hopefully you can make it. It would be great to see you. Taryn, how y'all doing today? I need more right side up. That's right. Well, that's tomorrow, I believe, with Steve Staggs. I'm going to be verifying that this afternoon, right after this stream. And likely we'll be on a stream tomorrow for 11 a.m. with Steve Staggs. Hexy Quinn's here. Pump it up. That's right. Don't you know? Pump it up. That's right. It is so good to see you, Hexy Quinn. I'm always glad when you're on the stream. It evens this stuff out, if you know what I'm saying. Godfather J6, back again. Thanks for being here. Sam Kemp, afternoon all. Sorry I missed you this morning, Sam. We just had to postpone. We're going to postpone that Ophir stream until tomorrow. I'm sorry, excuse me, till Wednesday of next week. Jockey Clocky, what's going on? I'll buy more at, 4 zeros and a 7-2. There you go. Texan Tailgate, Arnold voice. I'm going to pump you up. That's right. What's up, Forrest? Good to see you. Hex Monkey, man. Let's pump our hearts with gratitude. Absolutely. I'm super excited to see Hex Monkey at Gen Con 2023 coming up here on the 24th, which is Saturday. Very, very excited. Just the speakers that we've got lined up and the people who are coming into Gen Con. It's going to be great. It'll be an intimate group. Maybe I was kind of hoping we could get Brandon there. He could be, shedding some tears for you. But folks, it's going to be great to be with Hex Monkey and all the great folks coming to Gen Con 2023. If you want to know more about that, you just need to go to Gen Con 2023. That's where you can get information about Gen Con, which is the Generosity Conference that will happen on Saturday, but also the meetup. So the meetup, I got a little something to share with you there. If you're interested in coming to the meetup, this is what you need to see right here. So this was put out on my Twitter as well. This will be at La Brisa in League City. So it's Southeast Houston. And so this is Pulsicans, Hexicans, whatever you are, you can be there. Everyone's welcome. It's 6 to 10. There are tickets to that. You can get them on the Gen Con 2023 site. It's $25. There's fajita meal and non-alcoholic drinks and all that stuff. And so it'll be good. We might even have a little bit of karaoke, but it will be great. I want to get as many folks as we can from the community to get together, because if there's ever a time we need each other, it's during this bear market. So Houston meetup, South Houston meetup, February 23rd, Friday, 6 to 10 p.m. That's all the information. If you want more information, you can hit Gen Con 2023 and go to the bottom of the page for the meetup information. But I hope to see you there. If you're somebody that can travel in, that'd be great. But we got many people coming to Gen Con itself, which is the next day, that Saturday, all day. It's gonna be 8 a.m. likely until 8 p.m. So it'll be a good time. So with that, let's see who else is here. So Hex Monkey, David Lee, 3 o'clock. It's blowing your watch time. There you go. Ruskino, pump up the jam. Casey Hex, afternoon all. CP, what's going on? Yeah, we've got to pump this thing up, don't we? And more of this is really pumping you up rather than the price chart. We can't have an effect on that, but we certainly can have an effect on our attitude. And that's what I'm here to encourage you with. Anders, gas pumps and beer taps. That's right. You like that? I was going to use the gasoline station scene from Zoolander, but I had to find a better image. TexX, what's going on? It's great to have you. Is it Friday? I think it's still Thursday, buddy. Man, it feels like a Friday, though, doesn't it? Or maybe I'm just off. Snake Eyes, what's going on? Hello, there's the link, gencon2023.com. Ease and chill, keep inspiring. That's what we're going to do today. These things I've spoken unto you, that in ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Amen to that. Drix back again. What's going on? Good morning to you. Empty Corners here, and Robbie Pulse. Whoop, whoop, pamp it, baby. Absolutely. All right, so we're going to talk about this. One of the things I think a lot of people don't realize is that when things first launched on the PulseChain, if you didn't have Pulse, you couldn't do much. But there is a way. If you do not know this, the time is now. Right? I remember back when Hex went through its dip, the big dip after Big Payday. And I want to remind you that we've been here before. And that's the most important thing you know. But the people, I remember when I got into Hex 2 days before Big Payday, ZZ Tesco, he told me, he's like, come on, this is the time to buy. And of course, I didn't know much about it. I had seen Richard on or not Richard. I saw the TV ad at 2 a.m. And then I started watching Hexo. So I didn't know a whole lot about it. For those folks who were into crypto the last cycle prior to that, they knew what was going on, and they knew Richard Hart. I had to learn all this stuff. But when I found out that Richard Hart was going to be forking the PulseChain, I'm like, I'm in. That's when I started this channel. And folks, it's been 2 years and 500 plus videos. And I'll tell you what, this is something that you got to recognize is all about holding the line. We are literally creating our own value in community together. And that's the key to this. And honestly, if this wasn't such a great community already, but we got to keep it together. That's the problem, is that these are the opportunity times. Everybody wants to celebrate and high five when the bull runs here. But how do you think you get into a position, right? I was told always buy low, sell high, not buy high, sell low. And I think that's this is where the opportunity is. But you got to wait the time. And of course, we're going to have a guest come in a little bit, and we're going to ask our guest about the cycles. We're going to ask about what cycle are we in? What is the time that we're in? We're going to talk about the SEC. We're going to talk about the halvening. We're going to talk about what's this cycle look like. And I'm going to give you a terrible rendition of my perspective on that. But more than anything, you'll get encouraged. Matt Long, it is going to be awesome to see you. I am going to be starting a new channel on the YouTubes, and it is going to be Preserving America in Texas. And that is going to be a new channel that I'll create that'll be focused on Texas independence. And I'm going to lean on Matt Long to see if he will join me in that venture. Looking forward to seeing you this week coming up at Gen Con and talking about all that. Matt Long is a superstar, folks. and we need to get him even more exposed than he is, because he is a future leader of the state of Texas. And so I'm really excited about him. And it's great to see you, Matt. Thanks for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe, all that stuff. Howdy, folks. All right. So all kinds of craziness, right? Wars and rumors of wars. That's what we've been seeing. There's freaking aliens, folks. I mean, seriously. All my life I've followed this stuff. And it's like, what is happening? What is happening? We go from Charlie 19 and all that craziness stuff. And now we've got, financial ruin. We don't know what a man or a woman is. Everything's under attack. It's literally clown world, upside down world. And it's like, hold on a second. Let's remind ourselves, these are the times of opportunity when there is instability, right? This is what people look for. They look for times of instability. And I'll tell you a story. Back in 1987, there was a massive crash in the housing market and in the real estate market. And there was a guy, you may have heard his name. His name is Ross Perot. And what was really interesting about Ross Perot is when everybody lost everything, Ross Perot had some money. And he literally bought North Texas, basically bought all the land in North Texas. And, and he waited and he waited. And I'll tell you what, it was farm fields, but it was the opportunity when everyone else was just crying and bleeding, and it was just blood in the streets. And he wasn't making a big, announcement. He was just buying and buying and buying and buying. And I just want to remind you, all you have to do is take a look at the Bitcoin chart. It's not going anywhere, folks. What I mean by that is overarching crypto. You have to do your own research. You have to pick a horse to ride. But, this is the time, this uncertainty time. Now, we are betting on one thing, and that is that DeFi is untouchable. Now, not all DeFi is going to be untouchable, right? There are people saying that there's going to be SEC stuff going after Uniswap. But you got to understand, everybody every time overplays their hand. Everybody does, especially liberal people. They overplay their hand. And this is like the story of politics, right? Oh, we think we got you. We think we got you. And then you overplay your hand and it backfires in your face. And that's what I see is this is a reaction to something. This isn't proactive, because obviously government is never proactive. So this is a reactionary thing. But what they don't really realize is I think the majority of people making decisions actually don't understand what's really happening. And I think some of the people that are even within the Federal Reserve don't actually understand the threat. But I mentioned, potentially over a year ago, this idea of how do you kill wolves, right? So you get a bunch of blood, right? And you freeze that blood, right? The blood popsicle. And you get a knife and you literally make a blood popsicle out of that thing. And of course, the wolves love the smell and taste of blood, and they will come and lick that blood popsicle. And their tongue will get numb, and they will just cut their tongues up because they're licking this thing, right? They just have to have this blood, and it deeply cuts their tongue, and they bleed out and die. This is what's happening. This poison pill of DeFi is ultimately going to be the thing that is the Achilles heel, because what they don't realize is that this cat's been out of the bag for a long time, right? Pandora's box is open, and what is the opportunity? That's what the pump stream's all about. The opportunity. What is the opportunity? The opportunity is right in front of you in community, is that what we're doing here together is we're literally decreeing our own value. Because what is currency? Like right behind me, right? The Benjamins, what is it? It's paper, right? It's an agreement. It's actually a note. It's a debt instrument. But if you think about what fiat is, it's by decree. And because it's not tied to gold or silver or anything, it's not backed by anything, that it's then just an agreement. Well, we can agree as well. And that's what DeFi is really about. It's an agreement that we have together that we are going to chart our own course financially, and we're going to define our own value. That's what this is all about. And so whether it's PulseChain and all that, we have to hold the line. And so, it's not financial advice to say you've got to do this or that with your money. No. But I want you to realize this goes nowhere if there aren't people who understand what's at stake. So what is the pump stream all about? It's you being reminded. I feel like I'm a coach, and maybe a coach will come in on this stream. And what does the coach say? The coach says, like, got to get your head straight and head right. I've got a daughter, actually two of my daughters are very, very good athletes. One is going to be potentially a Division 1 athlete, and she is about as committed and dedicated as you can possibly get. But she's at that high level, she's in gymnastics, and she's at such a high level now that what defines excellence in her sport is her attitude. It's mental now, right? There's a point in which you're younger and you're like, I'm just getting these basics down. But there's this moment that happens in your mind that is something that you make a decision about. And so much of what we're talking about is really about attitude. Is that people that have gone through cycles understand, hey, these things come back around. And what is the cycle? What are the cycles of crypto? And you don't have to be like a genius to look at charts and some basic things. And so I'm going to give you the literal like dumb like this is the chart for dummies. This is how Crypto Heartbeat looks at things. And I think there's some benefit in being an idiot. And I consider myself one. I keep things extremely simple, focused on the macro. And I go, all right, if these things repeat themselves, or at least they rhyme, what's happened in the past? Right. And one of the people that I feel like, understands charts, but also understands the macro is Richard Hart. So let's just take a look at this and I mean, this is about as, people would laugh at me that are, the TA folks. I'm going to show you something. I just want you to see how I look at things. And you know what? Take it for what it's worth, right? It's worth what you're paying for it, which is zero. Your time is it. So here, I'm going to share my screen. And I want you to just take a look. This is how I look at things. And it may be a help to you. We're not going to be looking at, the hex chart or the PulseChain chart or anything like that. We're going to look at the macro. And so who's the granddaddy? That's Bitcoin. So let's take a look. All right. So I'm just going to give you an example of what I see. And the worst possible chart to look at, right? Look at this. Right? We're gonna look at a coin gecko chart. How silly, right? So here we are. This is the Bitcoin chart, and it's not in log, right? We're not going log, we're going linear. Okay. I just want you to see something here. At the very bottom of this page, we've got the dates, right? Look at this. Look at what things look like in 2016. Right? 2016. Think about when things started, right? Way back prior to, I mean, this only goes halfway through 2014. But take a look at where the first big pump. This is when Bitcoin, I think in most people's kind of common understanding, is when it really had its splash, when it made its top at about 20,000. Okay, this is December of 2017, going right into 2018, this top. And I remember people were going bananas, right? Oh my goodness. And I remember when I was looking, we were following Bitcoin and thinking, hey, maybe we should mine some Bitcoin. That was in 2015. And I'm going to go back to the date. So yeah, right here, it was 4/18. So April 7th of 2016, I had an investor said, hey, I want to, talk about doing some Bitcoin mining. And I remember seeing Bitcoin at I think it was 414 at the time. And I said, it would have to double for us to have any reasonable shot. And I was building out a pro forma. And of course, I didn't know what was going to happen, but let's just think about this. That was the attitude at the time in 2016. It was like, well, it's $400. It'd have to double. Well, what was the very top? 69,000? Something like that, right? Okay. So let's just look at I just look at this chart, the simple, very, very simple. How long did it take for Bitcoin to go from this top, which was, a bull run that went to 20,000? How long did it take to get back to 20,000? Let's just take a look at the time. That's 18 to 19 to 20 to 21. 18, 19, 20, 21. That's 2 full years, right? All of 2018, all of 2019, and all of 2020. 3 years. That's how I look at this. 3 years it took to get back to 20,000. That's the cycle, folks. Now, what happened? You get back to that cycle. Now, let's just replace it with what happened. It went up, right? And what did we hit at the top? 69,000. Well, if these things are in a cycle, and if you look at the Bitcoin halving, which we will look when my guest comes in, we'll look at. So where are we? So I'm just looking at what has happened in the chart since then, right? All right. So from 2018 to let's say 2019, this bottom, let's say 3,200 as a bottom in general. Okay. The question I've got is this the bottom? Well, if you look at this chart following the timeline of this isn't the bottom. Now, they probably wished it was the bottom when it was here, right? When it was at 6,600, like, oh man, this is going to pump. It's going to do it. And then sideways action and then a big old drop when it hit the bottom. But from when it hit the bottom to when it got back to 20,000, I mean, this is the unfortunate part of this. This is the wait time. But if you compare this to the halvening, folks, we got time. Because I mean, in all of this stuff related to timing, the beauty of this is where the opportunities exist. This is where Ross Perot bought all the land for pennies on the dollar. But if you don't see these cycles, if you think, well, I'm just going to trade it daily, fine. That's not what we do in DeFi. But that's the high level macro is where are we? Where are we? And if I look at this chart and I just look at the timelines, but here's the crazy part. What's the difference between the high of 2018 and the high of 2021? It's a significant orders of magnitude larger. Are we going to see the same growth? You know, Richard says, well, it's hit the top of its S curve. Has it? Right? I mean, I look at the adoption in the world of crypto. What is it? 3-4%? Maybe 5%? So if this becomes mainstream and all of the resources and all of the infrastructure is built and that we are going digital, which is clear the governments want to go digital with their money, how long is it going to be before we actually see the bottom and then we actually see the next top? So that's, that may be, you're like, this is the pump stream, Crypto Harpy. Why are you talking about it like this? I just want to give you the perspective that this is the time. This is it. You should be excited. But of course, what did people expect, right? Their expectations and reality. I mean, these things are on cycles, period. And so I remember when I started getting into Hex, people had been there for an entire year, and many people 2 years prior to that. So I come in 2 days before big payday. I think about the OG Hexagons. They were following Richard when he was talking about a fluid dynamics coin. I just saw Toby Wan Hexobi, and he was just literally saying, yeah, we were back there at back in the original when it was Bitcoin Hex. It took 2 years, folks. And then it took a year in the marketing program for the adoption amplifier. That was 3 years. We've just waited 2 years for the PulseChain to launch. And we're what? In the first 100 days? So, one of the most important things to realize is that it's not like this is going to change overnight. So the question is, do you have a source of income? Are you creating value in real life so that you can, or are you chasing meme coins and stuff, right? Traders get wrecked. So create real value in real life, and this is the time. It's the people like Ross Perot who had the dry powder, right? 87 crash happens. Everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Everybody's crying, blood in the streets. And Ross Perot is sitting there quietly buying up all of North Texas. Question is, who are you? Where are you? And here's the thing. Don't be like discouraged. Like, well, I'm not one of these super rich guys that has a bunch of dry powder. It's okay, right? You have time. You have time. And that's why people what am I doing? What? You dollar cost average, right? What is dollar cost averaging? Well, I mean, it's just like anything, right? You're not, for me, I don't put money into speculative things that I'm not willing to lose. I don't put my family in a bind for investments, but I do understand what the opportunity here is. And so the amount that I can contribute into crypto over a period of 12 months is way more than I can do in 6 days. But a lot of people have that attitude. It's like, well, I've just got to dump this in here. Or maybe once I have some extra money, I'll put it in. No. What does it look like? And there's nobody better than Brandon from Rags to Riches on that discipline, right? Of just saying, hey, what are you doing? But you have to pick a horse to ride. And the cool thing about this with the PulseChain, because this is the pump stream for the PulseChain edition, is there's so many horses to ride. There's so many different horses to ride, but there's so many people that want to shake something shiny in front of your face. So you have to evaluate these things. And so, Brandon and I will bring people on who've got, projects. We put people up front and we ask them, well, what are the basic tenets of DeFi crypto? All right, immutable contracts on the blockchain. All right, you're on the PulseChain, which I think is going to be the only chain of freedom and sovereignty, because I don't believe that Richard is going to compromise his principles. Okay, we have a new layer 1. The price is completely, depressed from even the sacrifice levels, which is fine. It's actually the opportunity. And so the question is, what is your strategy? But folks, this to me, it's actually the time to be wise, not to be fearful. And also recognizing this, if you're contributing to, you're not fighting with people on Twitter, you're helping serve people, you're bringing value to people, you're stacking value, you're creating value, you're making connections, you're working on yourself, you're staying healthy, all those kind of things. It's going to put you in such a better position. Because I talked about a long time ago that it's like we're winning the lottery in slow motion. And for a lot of people, it's like, I don't want to win it in slow motion. I want to win it in fast motion. I understand that. But here's the thing. The people that win it in fast motion end up making decisions that are really harmful to themselves, and they don't appreciate it. And so this is a very unique time in human history. Besides the fact that we're following a founder who actually believes in freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom and sovereignty, all of those things, and fighting against these authoritarians and globalists, that we're going to actually have a layer 1 that is censorship resistant. This is the only thing that's going to survive, in my opinion. We see this with the SEC coming down on things, and this is classic, right? The folks in traditional finance have tried to, they try to conform crypto to their vision and for what the legacy financial world looks like. And those things are failing because the legacy financial system is ultimately going to fail. And there's going to be a lot of people that it's going to get way more painful than this. But how do you prepare? How do you see that when everyone else is crying and you're Ross Perot buying up all the land? And that's the thing. You don't put yourself in a bind for this. I mean, there's stories of people who, they put it all on black and they won, but that's extremely rare. And what I love about the Richard Hart attitude is, hey, this is the long game. But how many times do opportunities come before you where there's a new layer 1 that has the entire system state, right? It's going to take time for people to understand that. But what drives this stuff? It's green candles, folks. People love to buy tops, right? People have a hard time understanding how to buy bottoms. So when you see these low prices and bottoms, I see opportunity. But you have to do this research to understand, what are you getting into? Are you following the next, meme coin, or the next, I don't know, some of these projects that have like 57 different tokens that work, only on Wednesdays of leap year? Or are you actually tying yourself to things that you say, all right, what matters in this world? And that's what we've committed ourselves to focus on, is where is the trust in this world? It's in community. And where do people have trust? Well, organizations and communities that already have a purpose. It's very, very difficult to get people to care about something. There's so many distractions. And so as we tokenize communities and we look at things, let's only attach ourselves to things that are meaningful long-term, whether it be the independence of a nation and freedom and sovereignty. Well, hey, since we started the Texan token, it has only gotten more red hot, white hot now, that it is absolutely a necessity that we have an independent Texas, that we have a place for good people to go to. When we started this, a buddy of mine's like, hey, man, no one's going to go for this Texas independence thing unless people are in the streets. Well, they're not quite in the streets yet, but they're pretty damn close. So, okay, all right, so you got to do your research, and you also got to understand that you're trying to evaluate things based on your own values, right? Because everyone's going to try to show you something. Okay, there's so many things to choose from the pulse chain world, right? And I'm not just advocating for the things that I'm a part of. I'm saying there's a lot of things that are being built that are really good infrastructure that need to be there. But this is our layer one, right? Richard Hart might have founded this and he might have launched it, but this is ours. He's gifted this to us. And we see this because of our community. You know, Richard Hart has given us a gift. Hex is a gift. PulseChain is a gift. PulseX is a gift. It's what we do with it, right? We're stewards of that. Are we going to take the leadership role, and are we going to unite people in the community by caring about them, right? You can bring a lot more value than just what is reflected in the chart. That's why we're doing this meetup in Houston. That's why we're doing this generosity conference, because we're looking at this and we're saying we believe fundamentally that as all of this stuff plays out, that we're on the beginning of the digitization of money. And you can think about this. You're like, really? Yeah, it was like 13 years ago that Bitcoin launched. Hold on a second. It took so long for it to catch on, and now the cat's out of the bag. And you're like, okay, what about DeFi? Yep. And now we have our own version of Ethereum. And it's, in my opinion, not going to be OFAC compliant. It's not going to be touchable by the centralized authorities, because Richard Hart understands this. He didn't build the Pulse chain on AWS or Azure. It's not on these public clouds that literally somebody could say, all right, Amazon, shut them down. Now, there may be some nodes there, but you know what? There's plenty of them that are properly decentralized. And so that's, to me, it's a bigger picture. And you have to look at it from that perspective, is where are you going to invest your time, energy, and effort? Because a lot of this is about the communication network that is money and crypto, because it is speech. It literally is speech, because it grows based on this square, right? Metcalfe's law. This is about people engaging and connecting with each other and telling them where the food is. We're like one beggar helping another beggar find food. We found it. This is where it is. You're like, well, but it's so far down, man. It's way off the sack price. Yeah, congratulations. You actually have a shot. I remember like people talking about it before the Pulse chain launch. Man, I'm going to gobble that stuff up on the dip. And some people are like, well, it's never going to dip. It's just going to go up forever. And now we're seeing this is the shakeout, man. This is the shakeout. All the people that didn't believe are going to be gone. And they're going to be really sad that they left. But it just shows you that people overextended themselves. They thought, man, this is a get rich quick scheme. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is a shift in the very fundamentals of the financial system. It's a new financial order, and it is decentralized. And what does that do? That empowers you. This whole idea, you hold your own keys. You hold your own tokens. This is your stuff. But the opportunity for the money to be decentralized in a way that provides people with trustless yield. Do you know how powerful trustless yield is? Right now, everybody's like, oh yeah, that's cute, right? That DeFi stuff, that's cute. You know, we're in Celsius and BlockFi and FTX. You guys are, yeah, that's cute. You have Uniswap, ha ha ha. Yeah, until it's gone. And that's why Richard Hart was right this whole time, right? You can't delist something that was unlisted. How beautiful is it? You're like, oh man, we feel so bad. Why aren't we on Coinbase? Why aren't we on all these other centralized exchanges? Man, Hex could have been so much bigger if we would have been on. Yeah, could have, but it's not. See, that's the thing that you see. This is the story of the tortoise and the hare. It is so many times, every great story is literally about an underdog who wins. Somebody that stuck it out and stuck to their principles and stayed focused on what was really important and identified what was smart and sensible, and they stuck to it. And then when things were bad, they acted rather than being scared. I tell this story every single time I get on stream. I did an interview with Balliet Brand. I want to remind you of what Balliet Brand said. He said, Matt, when $100 turns into $1 million? And he goes, when $1,000 turns into 10 million? I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? He goes, that's what Hex did. That is a 10,000X in 623 days. How many people got the 10,000X, the literal bottom wick all the way to the top? How many people were in that day of the adoption amplifier that hit that wick on the bottom? Not many. But that's what it did. Well, Bitcoin went from pennies to 69,000. Ethereum went from pennies to 4,000, 4,400. It's happened. There's a 13,000 X's, right? With Ethereum. This is just getting started. And so we're going to see this cycle continue. We're going to see this next happening. We're going to see the next cycle. Is it going to be different? Yeah, now there's freaking aliens, man. We got so many other things to deal with. There's so many geopolitical things. But to me, this off-centered volatility is actually the opportunity. And if you don't see it that way, and you're arguing over P hacks or E hacks and all that stuff, it won't matter when things are bonded and moving together. But right now is where are you at? What horse have you chosen to ride? Are you in the game? And do you have the right mental faculties? Or are you somebody that's just a gambler? Because I think a lot of people that are in crypto are addicted to gambling. I really mean that, honestly. People have real problems. This is the whole trader mentality. And that's the beauty. That's one of the things that's so unique about, the T-share and Hex and this idea of delayed gratification is that, wow, you protect people from themselves. And if you think about the sack rate you got was actually, closer to the top than it is now. Actually, when people got the value, think about the price of Hex and where it was and what the price of crypto was when they sacrificed. So, you know what? You can look at things from both sides of the coin. And that's what our guest is going to talk to us about. We're going to pull up some charts. We're going to talk about the halvening. We're going to get his opinion. We're going to talk about the SEC. We're going to talk about Gary Gensler. And we're going to ask him about that coach. When he was in Pee Wee football, we're going to ask him, tell us about that coach. What did that coach tell you? And I want you to be my coach. Be my coach. But before we do that, let's do this right.
He's not only the CEO, he's the CFO, the CIO, the CMO, the CTO. He's the supreme I done told you. He's the mayor of Sassy City, the commander of couch cushion maintenance. In the islands, he's known as Kinkamaya Maya. He's my ace in the hole, my kid Creole, my Bob Dole. He's not internationally known, but he's known to rock the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the gentle, ginger, giant, genius, and the professor of potent pontification, Brandon from rags to riches.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's my ace in the hole, my kid Creole. He's my Bob Dole, shaking hands with his left hand. What's up, Brandon?
What's up, dude? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How about that? Once again, we had to pump it up, and I figured I was incapable of pumping it up like you pumped me up earlier with your message in the Texan chat that inspired this stream. Give us something good, Brandon. Tell us about your coach in Pee Wee football.
All right, here it goes. All right, so I started playing football probably when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Initially, I think I played center, and then I get a phone call from my coach, and it was back when there was actually voicemail. Okay, so we had voicemail there, like analog voicemail.
Yep.
And yeah, my dad plays the voicemail, and I'm in the other room, and my coach is like, "Yeah, Mr. Davis, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna need Brandon to go ahead and get a cup, okay." Because he's going to be playing fullback. So we went out and got a cup. Okay, cool. All right. I don't know why I said that, but it just adds flavor to the story.
It does. It's good.
So here's what happened. I played football, and I remember playing football for, from 6 to maybe like 10. And you just kind of, for the first couple of years you're out there, like you don't know the rules. You're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And I think the only thing that I did well was used angles. Okay. So they taught us how to run at angles instead of running at the person. Did that real well. We get to a point where it's the end of the season, towards the end of the season. And what our city did I think I was about 10 years old at the time. They would call in teams from other counties that are about a year to 2 years older than we were to play us in the playoffs.
Wow.
So it was basically a thing where we're going to get our asses beat. And they wanted us to get our asses beat in the beginning when we were younger. So when we got to, middle school and high school, we were a force to be reckoned with because we would always play up. So I remember we're in the playoffs, and I told you this earlier, the quarterback, I don't want to, this is a family friendly stream here. My balls hadn't dropped yet. And this guy gets under center and he's like, "Doe, set, hut, hut." And he had a man voice.
Is he 10, 12?
He's probably about 12.
Oh my gosh.
So he hit puberty early, and the dude had a legit man voice. And it was very intimidating to us because all those kids probably on average outweighed us by like 20 to 30 pounds. So it was like children playing men in some aspects, but I was playing middle linebacker, and my coach, he said, all you guys have to do to be able to win these games is first do what we do in practice. Okay. But then the secret sauce is you have to actually believe that you can win these things.
Yeah.
Season and pretty much the whole time I had played sports, I didn't have that belief. Okay. So I just go out and play hard, but I didn't believe I could win. That game, I think it was maybe like the second quarter or something. I'm playing fullback, and something clicks in my head, and something clicks for everybody on the team, and we are just playing like absolute studs. And I remember it's like slow motion. I see the fullback come through the hole. I see the tailback behind him, and I just go. I'm middle linebacker, and I just plug the tailback, plug the fullback, knock him into the tailback. And I'm just pumped, and it just came over me, man. I'm like, we can beat anybody.
Wow.
Okay. So it was that belief combined with the experience that helped us win that game. And then every game after that, I just walked out on the field like I was absolutely untouchable because I just knew. Okay. So that was that first experience I ever had. And I kind of woke up this morning, man, and I was just thinking about everything. And I said, and I shared this in our chat, in our Telegram. I said, whatever reason people are here, whatever reason you're here for a Texan, you're here to make money, fine. Or you're here because you think that this is going to excite political change, fine. Are you here because you want leadership in this space? Fine. Whatever reason that you're here, you are capable of whatever you want this thing to be, folks.
Yep.
Texan can be whatever you want it to be. And I'm saying that from a place of belief. The only thing that it requires is for you to turn on a switch internally, and you have to make it a part of your life. If you want cool things to happen, then you have to go make them happen, folks. And guess what? Anything is possible in cryptocurrency. Whatever your end goal is, it can happen, and it will happen if you want it to happen. So that's my message, Matt. I say that with conviction. It's not BS. It's not marketing. I don't go off on these rants like this often. This is coming from a different place, and I totally believe this small community is showing its character, it's showing its culture, and it's showing its identity, and we're just not going to stop even when everybody else is scared. I am not fearful about the future, Matt. Not at all. No. How do you feel?
Same way. And dude, it's so inspirational, you coming up. And I think that a lot of people look to you, but it reminds me back with Hexo, dude, back in the early days of Hex. And of course I wasn't the early days. I was, before Big Payday watching him. Yeah. And, there was something about him. I'm like, I like this guy. Was he the most technically savvy guy? No, but he was consistent. And I was like, I can relate to this. And I think that a lot of people, when you come into something, you see Richard Hart, you learn these things. Of course, I had Westcott Crypto on, and boy, he is just on fire. And I loved what he did to your video, by the way. And it's just so awesome to see people that are like, I get it, but it's almost like you almost have to see the difficult times in your life. You and I have stories that are real similar, growing up and dealing with these things. And they're like, if you don't have a vision for getting out of what you've been in, like if you don't have a vision, I was looking at, I'm trying to think who it was. Joe Exotic, man. Like he literally was in jail and like
Yeah.
almost dead. And somebody introduced him to Hex. And you think, well, was it really Hex that did this? Or was it the people that cared about him enough to say, hey, here's something that might be helpful to you? And what I got from your inspiration in the Telegram chat was the fact that, you know what, we can only do so much. There's no centralized organization. We can inspire, right? We can encourage, but it's almost like you're right. You have to flip a switch and say, you know what, I'm committed to this. And that's what I did when I started my channel. I'm like, okay, my voice has to be out here because I'm not hearing anybody that is talking like this. You're the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, I'm going to do my part. Now we're doing this pretty much every single day. Fine. You know, the beauty of this is you're not selling a product. You have nothing. No one can do a transaction with you. So in a way, this analogy of we're beggars. Well, what are beggars? But people who are poor, who have seen hard times and going, I found the gold mine. I found the food. But the really unique thing about this food is that it's in this centralized, secure place that only you can engage with. And honestly, when you tell someone, there's more food there.
Mm-hmm.
You went to this trough to eat food and you're like, man, this food tastes really good. But if you tell people, more food appears. And you're like, nothing in life is like that. And that's the spirit of abundance, is that people coming together and they contribute to something. It creates a flywheel of inertia that has value. And so I just appreciate your leadership, Brandon. And I think sometimes people need a kick in the pants once in a while.
Man, I'm going to tell you something, man. I am not doing what I'm doing to be scared off by some bureaucrat in Washington.
Right.
Whatever happens, they are not going to stop what's happening right now. We will find another way. And I am not afraid of that. I'm going to go directly at the heart and the source of everything. And I'm going to unapologetically speak truth to all of the generational atrocities that are happening to everybody.
Yep.
And that's why we're here. We have a vehicle and we have a way to accomplish this task. And as long as we keep waking up every day, we keep telling our message to not only, social media, but people in our lives, our friends, our families, eventually, as long as we take one step every day, there's going to come a tipping point, Matt.
Yeah.
There's going to, that event horizon is going to be broached. And then this thing takes off like we've never seen. I have 100% confidence in that. And it doesn't have to be fast. Matt, I'm not the type of guy that plays the fast game. Yep. I like to play the steady game. I like to play the consistent game. And I think that's what gets us where we need to go.
Yep. Well, and people have said many times, like if you had a hatchet and you could only swing it once a day, but it was the same tree, there's a day when the tree falls.
Yeah.
Now, the first couple days, it's like anything, the results that you get. But I think that that's the thing that I want to encourage people with is your voice matters, right? Yes. So here's what I'm going to do, Brandon. When your beard is like down to your knees and we haven't hit the 10,000X yet or the 1,000X yet, and literally you look like a Viking, I'm going to literally, when it hits that 1,000, I'm going to go back into every one of your videos and I'm going to count all of them up, every live stream, every video you ever did. And I'm going to take that value and I'm going to divide it by the number of videos you've made.
Yeah.
And you know what'll happen is there will be a dollar value. And you could probably take average the number of words you spoke on those videos. And you could literally say every single word Brandon from Rags to Riches spoke was equal to 7.5 cents. And you're like, why didn't I tell more? Why didn't I talk about this more?
Yeah.
That's the same thing for everybody, whatever it is, liking, subscribing, commenting. But here's the thing. It's like there are debits and there are credits in this world. The question are the words that you're speaking, right? Because this whole world was spoken into existence. Are the words you're speaking adding credit to this flywheel, or is it debiting? Are you slowing it down and being resistance, or are you one who is pushing it forward?
Dude. And right now in the bear market, I have a sense of, I've got a sense of family. I've got a sense of direction and a focus from our community, Matt. I don't know if you can feel that.
Oh, yeah.
But dude, I feel that and I love it. I love the fact that everything is down, yet our spirits are up when the rest of crypto is not. And I want to invite everybody to be a part of that because it's cool. We don't stare at price charts. We talk about what's real. We talk about what needs to be spoken into existence in the world. The price chart takes care of itself. I've said this before. If it all evaporates and goes away, crypto goes away, what's left? We're left.
Yeah.
And we can continue to carry that banner in that way. So,
yeah, no, that's true. And, if you look out in the world right now and you look at, what's happening in the SEC, you look at what's happening in just American culture. And then when you look at now this whole idea of, hey, we have 12 alien crafts, right? What's actually happening if you back out from that? Julian Assange, all of these people who have exposed things, everything is being brought into the light. And the things that people have done in darkness are coming and they're going to be exposed. And I said it the other day to somebody, I said, I felt like when I was a kid that I was a part of America, and America was like, man, we are the home of the brave, man. We are the ones who are protecting everyone in the world. And it was almost like you woke up one day and you realized that your parents were serial killers. And you go, hold on a second. I thought we were the good guys. And then you're like, nope, no, they've been keeping this from you. You imagine, Brandon, if we would have had back in 1947, the government saying, hey, we're going to take this new technology that we don't quite understand. We're going to make it, put it into our universities, put it into our research. We're not going to give you the designs and everything, but we're going to say, hey, there's something here that we need to be experiencing. For 70 years, we had the potential of unlimited energy. We had the potential. Now, we had the potential of potentially destroying ourselves, but nuclear capabilities are the same thing. But there are people who decided that them keeping it secret for their own power and strength, right, to dominate and to extract. But that time is coming. And so if you fold these things together and you say, all right, it's not just the financial system that is changing. It's literally this global culture that's changing where everything is being exposed. And you're going to see it for what it really is. And you know what I think the result of this is, Brandon? I think people are going to be fed up and say, where do good people go? And I believe Texas will be independent. Why? Because there will be no other choice. And we're going to see all these things and people are going to get to the point where like, but folks, what if there was a place that had the greatest possible crypto regulation? What if there was a place that you could go where you actually could believe in God and believe that a man and woman are the two genders or whatever it is that is your thing? Vision, leadership, and exposure to the truth. People of integrity matter. I was watching this guy who's this F-16 pilot, like absolutely freak out.
I watched that whole thing.
I mean, he was just so angry because he made an oath. And you were in the Navy, dude. You took those same oaths. And you're like, what happened to integrity? And it's like, hold on. We need to get the people of integrity together and around the same fire. Well, that's what Texan is. That's what Ophir is. That's really what DeFi is. And it's like, hold on. No, we're going to be better together because we're going to say no one's going to control this centrally to corrupt it. We're going to contribute. Everyone's on an even footing. And that's what the centralized people don't like. They don't like you having power. They don't like you using your own money. And this is like never before have we had an opportunity to work together in something that unlocks value. Because here's the thing. If the Texan price chart goes up and to the right consistently, guess what? It gets people's attention. So are we going to make DeFi differentiated from the legacy financial system? Well, there's a lot of things that need to come into place, but where are you going to build it? You're going to build it where there's somebody that's running the layer one who isn't going to make it censored, basically do deals with the devil. I believe Richard Hart is going to stand on his principles. And so if you don't see that right now, you're like crying over the price of Pulse or PulseX. Folks, it's just not what's really going on.
Yeah. This is now the substrate, okay, for the projects and for the initiatives that are going to push things forward in the world, and for the community that are going to push things forward in the world. So like you said, people are upset about price because they initially joined crypto to make money. That's everybody's path. That's step one. Okay. But as you go down this path, you realize that this can really solve problems and issues in the world. And it's necessary moving forward as a check and balance. I think that's one thing that people miss in a big way too. If there are no other alternatives, folks, you are forced to go with whatever I use that word very broadly, they provide you. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I want alternatives, especially when the things they provide you come at large price tags, man. Come with large price tags.
Yeah. I want to shift gears with you to the cycles, and I want to equate the cycle. It's as if it's 1860 again. And there's a guy named Abraham Lincoln who becomes president.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the Missouri Compromise. This is where we are right now in America. We're in this polarized world. At the time, it was over slavery. But if you look at what's happening now, and of course, we got much better communication, and it's much, much more global, and we're able to speak to a group of people. But what is Abraham Lincoln's appeal at the time? He was a man whose time had come, but not because he was ready, but because the nation was ready for that kind of leadership. And here we are once again. It's in a very, very similar time. And what we're basically saying is, who's going to stand up for what is right? Because, you don't have to go too far to look at, to understand from a common sense perspective what's wrong. But these cycles, if you look at it, this is the book Generations, right? If you look at these 40-year cycles, generational cycles, 80-year blocks, we're at this crisis era again. And some of the greatest opportunity, which is it shows this next, it's the next renaissance, is ahead of us. But we have to solve these problems here now. Well, this is where the opportunities exist. Who are the people of the next renaissance? The ones who helped build the new system. And the new system is going to be based on DeFi. And so with that cycle concept, I'd love for your commentary on where are we in the cycle if these things repeat themselves or at least rhyme. Where are we when it comes to the halvening? Where are we as it relates to the amount of time it takes between tops and bottoms? Give us a feel for where you think we are in the cycle.
Yeah. So there's two things I want to point out. The first thing that I want to point out, if you look back at history, most of the biggest changes, I guess, in government and society occur because of financial reasons. And a lot of times it's mismanagement of the nation's coffers. I think that time and time again, we have seen that happen. We continue to see that happen now. People were upset with Speaker McCarthy because he compromised with the Democrats. And I just want to tell you guys that the difference between the Democrats' plan was $52 trillion in debt over 10 years compared to the Republicans' plan, which was $47 trillion in debt over 10 years. Is that a big difference? No, it's not a big difference, guys. We're all in the same boat that's sinking. So that's one of the reasons that we see crypto as a viable alternative. And once you turn this thing on and it gets big enough, there's no turning it back. So I like that. Second thing, you're talking about Bitcoin here in terms of the halvening. What you typically see when the halvening starts, it's about every 240,000 blocks, I believe, Bitcoin blocks. The halvening will probably be in the first to second quarter of next year, maybe about March, April timeframe of next year. And initially, when that halvening occurs, you're going to see kind of a little mini pump leading up to that halvening, but then you're going to see it kind of fall off. That's what's happened over these past cycles. All right. So after that, what do you look for some sort of pump? Well, you want a good economic environment. And when I say the word good economic environment, good for what we live in is basically inflation turning on. Okay. Whoever's closest to the inflation wins. Crypto gets very close to that inflation. All right. So what you're going to see is probably, now these, the blue are those the halvening marks?
Yeah, those are the halvenings. And this is obviously the past halvenings. And it's really the green bars, in my opinion, that are these, what happened after the halvenings. That's I think that's the macro view of this.
Yeah. So just like I said, let's take 2016, for example. You see 2016, the halvening occurred. Bitcoin probably dropped, I don't know, 20 to 30%. Okay. Just want to show that. The same thing happened when the halving occurred back in May of 20. Now, we had just got out of the COVID dip, but still Bitcoin, nothing miraculous happened. It takes on average probably about 3 to 5 months for the thing to start picking up steam. So I would expect that during this halving, this might be a little bit longer cycle here, but I would say maybe 3 to 5 months after the halving, we can really start to see the markets move up in a significant way. I would say too that we're pretty oversold right now. We are underneath the last top, the 2 tops ago, which was 2018. So I think that the neat thing here is we've launched in the worst bear market in crypto's history. I think that's because they've turned off the money printers, and we had the money printers going for the past decade and some change. So when they turn the money printers back on, everything settles out. The Fed says that by 2025, interest rates or inflation will be about 2.1%. We're going to see inflation falling this year. We're going to see probably 2 more rate hikes this year, according to the Federal Reserve yesterday. 2024 is going to be the market kind of catching a breath and then maybe building back up towards a big push into late 2024 all the way into 2025.
Okay. And that's, the estimate that people think is April of 2024 is the fourth halvening, right? April of 2024 is kind of this assumption, and it's going to be variable. But think about that, folks. That's kind of like the gun going off, right? And if you look at these cycles, that is a big indicator because these things are bonded together. The whole idea of Hart's law is things that are paired or bonded together move together. Well, we know this is, we're in a crisis time. The halvening isn't until April of 2024. It's June 15th of 2023. But folks, it is amazing how fast 6 months will go. Yeah. It's amazing how fast it'll go.
And here's the big thing in crypto. It's narrative, but also for those of you who don't know about what the halvening actually is, it becomes doubly as hard to get your hands on Bitcoin inflation. Now, when I say Bitcoin inflation, I mean that the miners who are basically being paid to secure the network, they're going to get half the rewards for securing those networks than they did before. So if it's harder to get the same thing, people are going to have to spend more money to get that. It's more scarce. It's more difficult. So with the narrative of the halvening, and everybody hypes that up, all the Bitcoiners, combined with the actual tokenomic that it's harder to get your hands on a Bitcoin, that kind of causes the market to push up. And Matt's saying that Bitcoin is bonded very, very strongly with Ethereum. And then many, many projects are bonded very, very strongly with Ethereum as well underneath that. So that kind of a healthy Bitcoin pulls the whole market up. That's what he's saying.
Yep. Well, and if you take a look at the bottoms of everything and you kind of look at the trajectory, the macro view that I've got is, people assume that the crypto marketplace, as money gets digital, right? And this is with CBDCs and everything, is that everything is going digital. Well, we saw that happen when Blockbuster went out, right? Netflix comes out and they deliver the DVDs, and then they start going. I mean, when was the last time you got a DVD in the mail, right? That happened. I remember thinking, oh, that's never going to happen. No one's going to, who's got the bandwidth to download a movie? And here we are, Netflix, right? Well, we're in that transitional time where people aren't. Grandma's not sending you crypto, but there's a moment when grandma does. And if you think about 3 to 4% of the world population is in crypto, they're going to be forced to be in it because that's what these folks who are clamoring to have control of the CBDCs and the stablecoins are going to do. That's going to move things as well. And so what is the base layer of value? It's the one that came first, which is Bitcoin. And I look at it as an indicator from a macro perspective to say, just look at this chart. It's almost silly. I look at this is not on log, right? I just look at what's the height of how excited I was. Do you remember when Bitcoin hit 20,000 in that first pump in 2018? I was freaking out. I'm like, oh man, I missed it. Yep. Oh, this is the great. Oh my gosh. And then of course, when it down to 3,200, I'm like, man, it's all over. Look at the distance. between the top in 2018 and when it hit 20,000 again. It wasn't until 2021. Like at the beginning of 2021 is when it actually hit 20,000 again. But if you look at just the size, the increments, the scale, how much larger the second bull run was from the first one. If there's any indication of what this next thing is, especially when it becomes mainstream, because if you think about altcoin summer and you think about this top of Bitcoin at 69,000, it doesn't even have the infrastructure, right? It doesn't even have regulatory. We don't even have sensible regulatory environment around crypto. And so if in fact you just look at past history, it was what, 1, 2, like basically 3 years before it went absolutely crazy again from that last top. So there's a possibility we haven't seen the bottom. What do you think, Brandon? Is there a possibility we have not seen the bottom in Bitcoin?
Are you talking about for this cycle?
Yeah, for this cycle that we have not seen the bottom.
Yeah, it's very reasonable to think. I don't think that's now. I'll say this: a lot of people have aped into Bitcoin, or they're using Bitcoin to hedge, and that's because the SEC has signaled, not completely directly, but they don't think that Bitcoin is a security.
Right.
So a lot of the Bitcoiners are celebrating right now, because they feel like that's a win. A lot of the Bitcoiners hate what we do. They hate DeFi because they feel like it takes away economic energy from Bitcoin, which, I mean, I can understand what they're saying, but I think they're very short-sighted, because if you only have one point of failure in your ecosystem and everything gets sucked into Bitcoin, what happens? It's pretty easy to control. And I happen to think that, did you see the BlackRock news today?
No.
About how BlackRock owns a significant portion of MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
And MicroStrategy has 145,000 Bitcoins. So, what does that say? BlackRock can move the market now because they have such a big share in that company. And people don't think that way, but it already is centralized. It's already in the stock market.
Yep.
And that's evidenced by the fact that companies can put this on their balance sheet now. And you wonder, who has tagged Michael Saylor to be the spokesperson for Bitcoin in that. So there's a lot of cool things we could talk about with that.
Absolutely. But I know that are you doing a stream right after this?
Yes, I'm going to do a stream.
Okay. Well, I want to make sure you have plenty of time to do that.
Yep.
Brandon, this is really helpful. I just appreciate the fact that, I feel like I'm always the guy who's like Mr. Positive, and it's so helpful to me to have somebody else who's carrying that torch, but also being somebody who's like reminding me that, hey, you got to get your head right. Like get your head straight, because you know what to do. And if you don't, you got to do your research and get up to speed. If you haven't spent the time understanding the true tenets of DeFi, there are tools, right? There are things that you can do. Brandon actually built a training video series called mycryptoclassroom.com. You could go there. If you don't understand DeFi, what's this all about? He's going to tell you the history of it. He's going to give you get to look into his baby blue eyes. I did that. I watched all those videos with a group of 16-year-olds as we learned about, the basics of crypto. There's all kinds of resources out there. If you don't understand something, write it down and look it up. You can learn it. You don't know what an automated market maker is? Go look it up. That's what I did. I was like, what's an automated market maker? How does it work? What's V3 liquidity? What's single-sided staking? What's all of this stuff? Or, what is an LP? You don't have to be, that's the cool thing about crypto too, Brandon. As much as, you feel like, wow, I don't understand this. I'm not an expert. I mean, some of the people who've done the best have basically, just bought and held. And you even joke about how you forgot you had crypto in your Coinbase wallet.
Yeah, it's just another one of those stories, man. I forgot I had Dogecoin, man, and right. I bought quite a bit of Dogecoin. Yeah, and here's another thing, guys. There's no experts out there in crypto. There's no experts, guys. It's so new. You can be an expert overnight. Yeah. If you just spent 3 hours learning about decentralized finance, those 3 hours are going to make you 1,000 times more knowledgeable than any of your peer group. And that's important. So just remember that you can be talking very intelligently about this stuff to people who have no clue, to doctors and to lawyers and to astrophysicists. They've got no clue, and you can be that person for them.
Yeah, and the cool thing too is when you're sharing the story with people, what I'm so confident is I'm sharing with them principles that are timeless and evergreen, meaning self custody of tokens. You're not relying on anyone else, and I think that there's something really in this day and age where everyone wants to, you know, um, have someone take care of them. Right? We see the state and all of these people wanting to control things. This idea of you taking personal responsibility, that's the name of this whole game. And what Brandon said early on was, hey, if you want to make this something, you just got to make a decision in your mind to make it something. Do whatever you can, bring your value to the table. I mean, I look at people that make swag and bedazzle things, right? They're creating value. They are contributing to this ecosystem. But I will remind you, what you say and how you say it is either a debit or a credit to this system. And I would encourage you right now, people are looking at you, they're listening to you. And what are you sharing? And that's why I always point out David Lee, right? Are you sharing an encouraging word or not? And so we've got to lift each other up, because you're right, Brandon. If this all goes away, what do we got? Really strong relationships.
And we're not going to stop.
No,
We wouldn't stop if this goes away, Matt. That's the cool thing.
yeah.
So
it's not going away.
matter.
It's not going away.
No, and it doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
that's so far from where I'm at right now. Just want to keep showing up with these people, keep growing, keep learning, keep teaching. That's important.
Yeah. And I get disappointed. I watch Twitter and I kind of get depressed at times, but I also recognize that we've seen this before. And so I'm looking forward to, I'm kind of like in my mind saying, all right, I'm waiting for April of 2024. I'm waiting for that gun to go off, because I think we'll get through this, these issues with inflation. And I think we're going to see the halvening. And I think we're going to see a new, money printers being turned back on. Hopefully we'll resolve some of these conflicts. And hopefully we'll have new leadership, and potentially we'll have a new country. And so
I want to give this message too, Matt. I think this is important. I think that there are people in our chat that represent a pretty large swath of crypto, and there are people that are part of different projects. I want to talk to you guys directly. I want to let you know that Texan isn't the type of project that is going to try to destroy other projects. Okay. Now, obviously, if they come at me, man, I'm breaking somebody's teeth. But otherwise, guys, the important thing here is, I think Matt and I see crypto in general, all projects need to be strong, because we are facing an enemy that doesn't want us to be strong. They want us to be fractured. They want us to hate each other. They want us to pick each other apart on Twitter and on Telegram. And when we do it, they laugh. They sit back in their seats and they laugh and they hold their stomachs. Okay. They're laughing so hard. We don't want that. We want strong projects everywhere. That's very important here. So you can be a Texan and not hold our token. Okay. That's very important for you guys to know, and encourage your community leaders wherever they are to reach out to Matt and I. So let's talk and let's just build this strong framework and this strong web to carry this thing far into the future. And then let's grow up a little bit. Everybody just grow up and make this thing work and come together that way. And it sounds cheesy and cliche and this and that, but guys, I don't know if there's nothing closer to the truth than what I just said, Matt.
No, it's so true. And there was no better proof than meeting you in person at the Hex conference and at PulseCon and those things, like actually being together in person. And so the last thing I want to share is we're having a meetup on June 24th in Houston. If you're in the Texas area and you can travel down to Houston for that meetup, it's 6 to 10 p.m. It's at a restaurant in South Houston. You can find out more information to go to Gen Con 2023. But if you want to go deep and you want to build relationships with people who are concerned about, and there are some whales, Brandon, that will be at Gen Con. And
can I make my whale sound?
Yeah, do it. You've probably seen a lot of breaching whales.
Bro, I've been waiting my whole life for that moment.
For that was a good. We need to clip that one. I'm sure that Hexy Quinn will do that. But there's some really great people who really, really care about. Hold on, they don't see money as just one Lambo. They see it as, hold on a second. If I'm going to go from rags to riches, what is the responsibility that I have with this era of abundance? And to me, the best time to tell people about this trough of food is right now when the price is low. Because like I said before, Ballet brand, $100 turned into $1 million. I just think about people in the Philippines. And you know what's going to happen, Brandon, with the Ophir crypto?
What?
There are going to be people in those churches, and we're going to ask them, right? You know, John is going to ask those folks, hey, do you have any families who would love to be sponsored? And there'll be somebody in the crypto world. And I think of like Crypto Vince. Crypto Vince will be like, you know what? I got $100. I'll buy somebody an Ophir stake, and I'll auto stake it, and I'll give it to this family. They can't, they can't pull it out. They can scrape if they want. But to think that, could it happen again? That $100, you know what? Even if it didn't do a 10,000x, but let's say $100 turned into $100,000, that's life changing for the people in the Philippines. Imagine these communities across the world having the same kind of opportunity. Well, it is not going to be here forever. This opportunity is going to be one, in my opinion, the impact that we can have in this bear market, helping people understand what the opportunity looks like. And we're not asking people, I always advocate, this is not, you're not selling the farm. You're not putting yourself in a bind. You're participating in the way that you feel comfortable by doing your own research. But I'll tell you what, if you're not paying attention to DeFi crypto and you don't understand that there are projects that probably reflect your values and reflect, what you want to be a part of, but what you're doing is you're contributing to others being lifted out of their current situation. And that, to me, it's not just a selfish ambition. It helps you and it helps somebody else. And so get your mind right.
Get your head right, man.
That's right. That's right. So folks, we got some tickets left for Gen Con 2023. Go to that site. You have to buy a ticket to come to the meetup, but also we have some tickets left if you want to be a part of Gen Con. That's going to be a conference all about generosity and really come together about how are we going to impact things in the world? How are we going to work together to make a difference in this, next 5 years? And that's exciting.
There's nobody that will be at that event that will walk away from that event and think to themselves, well, that wasn't worth it.
Right. Oh no, there's no question. Just
now, you and I have seen it every time. We've talked about this. Be like, do I want to go to this place and talk to all these strangers that I know? And you feel awkward, but dude, you come away, you walk away and you're like, wow, these are real people. These are real connections. Yep. It's so neat to see how it translates over the internet into real life and it stays the same or gets stronger. So really consider it, guys, and consider holding meetups in your own town too.
Yep. Well, and it gives me hope for humanity. When I meet so many good people of different walks of life and different, that's the thing. You've said it many times. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your age is. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your, affiliation or association is. There's a goodness of people coming together that actually want to contribute to, they just want to contribute, right? They want to be a part of something that's bigger, and no one's going to do it for us, Brandon. We have to do it for ourselves.
Absolutely. 100%, man.
All right, everybody. Go over to Rags' stream. He's going to fire one up. Give him some support there. Brandon, thanks for everything. You've been killing it on your content. You've doing tons of research, and I really appreciate it. I come in here and I wing it, and you're doing all of this prep work, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing in the community.
Yeah, man.
That's all right. Folks, thanks for joining the Pulse. Brandon, thanks for joining it. Folks, do not mess with Texas. Take care, everybody.